edition of Lifeline, living your future every day. I've got my wonderful team with me. You know, we're just off of the Inman interview that Josh and I did, and Brad had just asked Josh and I to kind of lay out what we thought the future might look like, right? And so I kind of, let me just run through that real quick if you missed it. But I started off by saying, you know, for me right now, the whole challenges of what happened to George Floyd and what we're seeing play out has been very humbling for me, because I realized that you just can't be not something. You cannot not be a discriminator and not be a racist. You have to be anti-discrimination and anti-racism. That there, you can no longer just be not something. And then I ran into the kind of what I saw was happening in our industry. And I laid out three big ideas. One, that we're definitely seeing a fast tracking of disruption, right? What might have taken 5 or 10 years now compressing down to less than 2 years, guys. I promise you, it's less than 2 years now. And number two is that behavior's changing, right? Jay and I, we wrote a book about that. And everyone used to think it was 21 days, but it's actually 66 days on average. And behavior is changing. I mean, we're already into sheltering for over 66 days, and we are seeing behavior change. And the question is that the new normal or not? But that's changing. Consumer behavior, real estate agent, brokerage, all that's changing. Third thing I said was that we're gonna see mergers, acquisitions, alliances, things that might not have made sense now make sense. People that thought, well, I'll never be in business with you, are now going into business together. And all this is making sense as people hunker down to focus in on winning. And then I said, and then here's the winners. I said, I said it's the tech-enabled consumer. I said it's the tech-enabled agents, the tech-enabled brokerage, and in the end, it's the platform. It's if you're not building your business on a platform versus connected software that acts like a platform, you're gonna get left behind in the next 24 months. Your business is. Because the platform wins. It always wins, whether it be Amazon or Netflix or Facebook or Google or Apple. It doesn't matter. It's the platform wins. So having said that, Jay, I'm gonna start with you today and say, pick a topic and tell me what your thoughts are.
Well, I want to go right back to where you started. Like, I feel like COVID, right, has accelerated awareness and change at a rapid pace. Yeah. And we're at this moment in time where we're aware of there was an education inequality, income inequality, opportunity inequality, and now it's highlighted a racial inequality. And all of those things are converging at once when people are anxious and fear and erupting. And so I think we're going to look back kind of like we did a few years ago at the Me Too moment, where a lot of us suddenly got a whole new set of eyes, right? Our hearts may have been in the right place, but our awareness was not. And the gift of that is we can then start taking purposeful action.
The world changed forever, right? When you see people wearing a mask, and this is just hard to talk about. When you see someone wearing a mask that says, "I can't breathe," and you realize that they're actually quoting a man that was videotaped saying that, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Mm-hmm. You just can't. It's now there. You'll never not see that. And that's what changes you permanently, is that you cannot unsee what you just saw. You cannot unhear what you just heard. You know, when the people were videotaping that, Jay, I don't think they thought that man was dying. Mm-hmm. I don't think they thought George was dying. Because if they did, I can't imagine they'd stand and film versus jump in. The horrific thought that they were actually witnessing that event would have been terrifying and would have caused people to take action. They just wouldn't imagine that ever happening. Now, I think the world changed forever. I think it did. I think we're talking about it, and we weren't talking about it. And I know you guys. You're the finest people that I could ever know. You don't discriminate. You're not racist. You're good people, and yet being good isn't enough anymore. It's just not. It's not. That's how I feel about it. It's just not good enough anymore. It's just not. We're going to talk about it. We're going to take action. We're going to do things. We have to help. We have to be part of the solution. And Jay, you nailed it. And that is, it was the perfect storm for this. It was the COVID-19, the what's happening with employment and the recession, the effects that we're feeling, and then this. It's the perfect storm. People are mad. They're really mad. And it's not just a few people. They're mad.
It's going to be remembered as a time of massive transformation, not just for business, and I hope for our culture as well. And our opportunity is to be agents of change for the right direction. That's our opportunity right now.
Yeah, and change needs to happen, so thank God. And I'm sorry it had to happen this way. It's just horrifying.
One last thing on that, Gary, is that I really feel compassionate that we're more good than we're not. And we've just lost the fact that we have to really step up for the change too. It's one thing to say, I'm not a racist. And yet I've really questioned myself in saying I need to do more with a hand up. I need to think more strategically about what are the communities that I could really help.
Yes.
That's what it came down for me.
That's right. And it's bigger than any one race. We're right. This is, it's against all racism. It's against all discrimination. That's right. All right. Next topic. Jason, you want to jump in? What struck you?
Oh, you know what? I thought it was so interesting. And the whole conversation for me, we talked about change in what felt like 7 different ways, really. I mean, you're literally seeing, and you said it's coming faster maybe because of COVID, but these changes were kind of all scripted. I looked back at a conversation that it was a speech that you had given maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think that your predictions changed dramatically from 3 or 4 years ago to yesterday on that interview. No. I kind of heard the exact same thing. And what I found fascinating.
I said it differently, but I said it differently, but I in essence was saying, yeah. Well, Brad Inman even said the predictions you made last time you here are turning out to be correct.
Yeah, 100%. The one thing that stood out is you said you're going to be seeing businesses right size. You're going to be seeing places that have no physical footprint and going out and trying to acquire them. You're going to see the ones that already have them, trying to make them smaller. I think when you describe the right sizing for all industries, but specifically for ours, we really have to talk about that, because if you don't right size, I think you could be in the hurt locker real soon.
Well, that's right. What's changing is how we interact with people, physical versus digital, and that's what's changing. And right, I'm sitting at a desk doing work. I can sit here. I can sit in an office. I can sit. I mean, that's one thing. The bigger thing is how I interact, and we're discovering that at certain level, digital works. I mean, digital works for this conversation right here. This is a very effective, and the number one reason this works in my mind is I can see all 3 of you at the same time. Right. I'm actually we're talking and communicating in a better way right now than we normally would if we were sitting in a room. So in this instance, this works. Doesn't work in all instances, by the way. And not only that, there's a fatigue. I mean, the studies have come out and they're flat out saying that 100% digital world, oh my God, is not good. It's going to create all kind of mental health issues. It's going to create emotional issues. This is a problem. I ask people, I say, are you happy? And they go, nah. And of course, I understand that there are a lot of reasons why you could be unhappy. But what I was referring to and what they were responding to was they were unhappy about the fact that they couldn't go give hugs, that they couldn't go sit next to a person, that they couldn't have real interaction. Part of the fun of the art industry is the relationships. And when you make it feel 100% transactional, when you make everything you do feel transactional, because this is a no BS zone right here, right? This is not a kickback and hey, let's waste time. This, when I go in, I'm getting more done than ever before, by the way. I'm talking to more people. I'm accomplishing more things, and it's wearing me out, by the way. Yeah, it's wearing me out. And I think it's wearing everybody out. And that's all you need to know to understand that there's going to be a balance between the two. Monica, what struck you about what I said?
One of the things that was exciting, and I talked to some agents yesterday, and the thing that came out was the tech-enabled consumer wins, point 4. And the agents are so excited about having something fun and creative and be the one stop for all this information. And like the question you asked was, do you want to manage your home, or would you like us to help you with that? Mm-hmm. Getting a text and an email that says, by the way, your interest rate is 4.4. This is what it could be. No cost, no points, $1,000 to closing costs.
Yeah.
Is it time for you to research your insurance costs this year? Those kind of things. And then so you think of that as a consumer, wow, what a cool thing. And it has all these great points of interest. And then you think of as an agent, this person is looking there in that app all the time, and they're reminded of you and the information and the experience you're providing them. So that's cool.
Yeah, here's the thing: the consumer wants a digital based, physically enhanced in everything, right? Jay and I talk about this all the time, and it's not just real estate; it's any product I want to buy. I start with my phone or my computer, and then I migrate to, I want to go try it out. Let me tell you, buying online is an inefficient thing to do. And the reason is because you can't buy something 100% from reviews. It's not efficient. It's really not. And I understand they have, you can mail it back and all of that, but then you're just going to be guessing again, right? We're going to discover eventually that there's a blend between physical and digital. But here's the thing is, right? You listen to like Rich Barton's conversation, and if that doesn't send a slight shiver down your spine, because there is the most valuable real estate organization on the planet with more capital than anyone else. And their whole goal is to be that for the consumer. And the problem with their vision is it's not an agent enabling vision. It's an agent reducing. The agent works for them vision. That's their vision. And it's not wrong. And Rich Barton's a great guy. He's a smart guy. And I say more power to him. If you can outdo us, then God bless you. But that means we have to outdo them. And then the question is, who's going to do that, Monica? Who's going to build all of that? Because I'll tell you right now, the real estate industry 2 years ago made fun of me. They all made fun of me when I said, this is where we're going and you better build a platform. And they all made fun of me.
I was going to say the only one that can fight that is a tech-enabled agent, Gary, right? You've got to have a tech-enabled agent with a platform on their side to battle a platform. That's the only shield and sword you can take into that battle.
That tech-enabled agent has to be using a platform.
Exactly.
Because eventually all of that, it has to be on the platform. It's hard because software that's not on the platform has, CRMs are a 30-year-old plus industry. So tomorrow morning, if you say, I'm going to build a CRM, but I'm going to do it on a platform, it's going to take you a little while to catch up to all the features that someone's been, Jason they've been gelling on that for however, years and years and years and years and years. But you will catch it and pass it because the platform will make it better.
And that becomes the pivotal question. And that was when I stopped watching. When yesterday's interview ended, and I know we're wrapping this up, that was the question that I asked. I reminded myself that every single real estate agent that was in earshot of that industry in that interview, they get one vote to make. And the vote you make is which company you are at. And that the reason it's a vote is because you're literally saying, this is the one that I believe is best positioned to protect our industry or make sure we get to where we need to go. And you just demonstrated something really important, which is Rich Barton and Zillow, right, wrong, or indifferent, they made their vote. And if you're not taking your vote seriously, I'm going to implore you to wake up and start asking the questions, because it's all of our responsibility as an industry to protect it.
Well, Rich Barton is, I'm not picking on him at all. And I don't want to come off like that at all, but he is the guy that when he came back in as the CEO, he didn't make this to the real estate industry, but he was quoted in an interview with an analyst where he said Zillow's like, the elephant that came to dinner and got so big you can't get rid of them. Mm-hmm. And he was expressing that he was as they say it, the gazillion pound gorilla that the industry allowed in, and now his goal is to become the industry. And that's not the world that the real estate industry signed up for, and it doesn't facilitate the fiduciary relationship. And I know we'd have an argument about that. I mean, I respect that.
I don't really know if it's an argument, because here's the thing. If you're a real estate agent out there, I really hope that you've made the decision to be an immovable object within our industry.
That's right. So being an agent, like you said, is your dollars that you pay into a general brokerage is a vote for who you want envisioning the future and building it for you. And what does that look like? And that, by the way, is why you're going to see the mergers and the acquisitions, the alliances, because as the reality of recession sinks in, right? I mean, think about this. Let's just make this statement, right? The industry nationally is down 35% so far this year, right? And yet you go talk to the upper percent of agents, and they're having record years, Monica.
Record.
They're having a record year, right now. They really are. Right. And they're a little confused by it. My response was, that's because 35% of the industry went and sat on the couch and didn't do anything.
Right.
That's what happened. Right. So your pie didn't get smaller right now. Right. Not yet, but that's kind of the way that looks. Right.
Absolutely.
Recession is still coming. I hate to say it. It is. When you have 40 million people file for unemployment, Jay, right. It was less than 40 million. It was less than 11 million. That's what they say. I'm sorry. It was 40 million filed for unemployment, and they translate that into potentially over 15% unemployment rate.
Yeah, it's 14.7. But if you count the furloughed employees, we're looking at about 20% of our American workers right now are on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And that has a significant impact on their willingness to buy cars. We see that's down 50%. Real estate, another big purchase. It's going to have a significant impact.
And we're not done yet. We're not done yet.
No.
I know you're winding this down here, but there was somebody said to me the other day, because they were reciting the same numbers you just did, and they said, but the stock market is flying. And I heard someone say something really interesting. They said, you know why? Because there's no small business that's being looked at on the stock market. Main Street isn't represented in the Dow. And here's what's really important. Everyone needs to remember that there's real human collateral here, and business dreams that are being extinguished, and people that are out of work, and that isn't represented on a forward-facing market like the Dow. No. And so please be kind to each other and help them.
Well, that's the other thing. What's interesting is that 20 years ago, there were like 7,500 public companies on the Dow, and today there's less than 4,000. At the same time, it's flipped, and we've tripled the number of private equity owned businesses in America. And that's why that Dow is very specialized. That's what you're referring to. It's now a very elite group of businesses that people are putting their money into.
Many of which are positioned to actually come out of this in a good shape, right? You look at the Facebooks, the Amazons, the platform companies, they're looking out 2 years. Even in a U-shaped economy, the stock market's anticipating those companies having a lot of market share.
Well, the real estate, here's the thing, we'll just end on this note, and that is we in the industry recognize this as a people-based industry, right? We recognize this as a people first. It's relationship driven, until it's not. And all I mean by that is that at the time that all of a sudden the consumer is given an experience that delights them, saves them time and money, and helps them have a better experience that gets them what they want, they're going to still want the relationship, but they're going to want that relationship to be involved in this experience, right? So the point is that when the tech-enabled agent, Monica, is the agent who gives that experience to the consumer and interacts with the consumer in that experience. And that's it.
And it's the conversation of the agent, taking that consumer and walking them through it and showing them all the benefits. And that glues the relationship for the future. And that's how we continue to have repeat and referral business. This is the key thing right now. Key thing.
All right, guys, this has been awesome. You're great. I'll see you next time. Bye.